Hey y'all, welcome back to Chatting with Coach Amy. I was about to say chatting with Coach Stacia, but that's your name. You're not a coach, are
Oh,
you? Are you gonna be a
no,
coach?
no,
No.
no, not right now. No.
This is Stacia. I think I was wanting to think about your name and say it right.
Yeah, that you have it right. Yes,
I do have it right. I'm so happy. That's awesome. Thank you so much for agreeing to be interviewed. I really appreciate it. Are you excited?
I am. I'm
Yeah.
excited to kind of share what I feel like THM means to me. So,
Yeah. Go ahead. Tell us.
well, I found THM through a friend from church. I
Oh,
had
good.
just had my fourth child. So I have two boys and two girls. My oldest is a boy, so boy, girl, boy, girl.
Oh,
And so, yeah, so I was, not have kind of done losing the weight that you just naturally lose when you had a
yeah.
baby and just still had some weight left to lose. And so I was kind of looking at things to do, and she told me about Trim Healthy Mama. So this was in 2014. So I had bought the big fat book that um, mine does not have a baby crawling across the front, but that's the first book I had.
Yeah.
And I actually got it out last night to make spicy nuts for the Super Bowl party.
Oh,
And I need to get back in this book. There's a lot of good things in here. But anyway, so that's how I found THM in 2014.
okay. Long time.
Yes.
I have never made a recipe out of that book.
Well, I don't know if I'm saying this right. Chana dal beans. The original recipe is good
I
in
have
there.
made that, but I didn't know it was in that. I don't know where I got the recipe from.
They have it in their a newer
Oh,
version
it is
that's
in the
easier to
THC.
follow. And
Yeah.
yes, and then like the strawberry whip, the cottage whip, they had that they had it with blueberries in the old book, which is
Okay.
good.
Good
Yeah,
to know.
yeah, it's really good with
You're
a
legit THM. I don't even think I'm legit as you.
well. I don't know about that. That's sort of why I, kind of looked at you as a coach because you have maintained for so long. And so while
Oh,
I know the
thank you very
program well,
much.
yeah, you're welcome. I know the program well, just that maintenance kind of thing
Yep.
can be tricky.
Yep.
But
It is tricky, tricky. You're right. You're
yeah.
right. Well, what made you stay with THM for so long? 2014. That's a long time.
Yeah, so I lost all my baby weight very quickly, similar to your story. And eating a lot of like heavy S's and S's and like some cheat meals on the weekend. But I was probably 34-ish, maybe not quite 35 then. And so I didn't really have any problems like losing. I was eating some E's, but a lot of S's and
Hmm.
heavy S's. And then
Typical. Typical.
yeah, and it's very funny because I told you before, like my mom just celebrated 16 years since her kidney transplant.
Oh,
So
so awesome.
like JJ and I, like there's some things that
Yeah.
we have in common that I have messaged you about, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to stay focused here.
It's
And
okay. You're good.
but when my oldest son, like we didn't really do sports outside until they got to middle school. We just did, Boy Scouts, our church youth group, or Awana. Our kids are in Awana,
Hmm.
and then so they started playing sports in middle school, and so I had this like new schedule to try to keep, and I got that book called Eat Cooked Once, Eat Three Times, or Eat All Week, or
Yeah.
whatever. I heard
Cook
JJ
once, eat
talk
all
about that
week. Hmm.
recently in a podcast, and I kind of then got like sloppy THM
Hmm.
using that cookbook, and then just kind of bad habits creep
Crept
back up,
in.
eating
Hmm.
foods that I normally wasn't eating, and so then I gained some weight back, and I never had a ton of weight, like about 10 pounds, but still 10 pounds when you're 5'1" is not comfortable.
Right.
So I would lose that, gain that, get tight, then get sloppy, and so probably right after COVID, I had heard Beth. I don't know if you're familiar with Beth Learn, but she is a like specialist with diastasis recti.
Oh, okay.
And so she does exercise. Fit to Be is her company's name, but she
Hmm.
does a lot of healthy core and pelvic floor exercises.
Hmm.
And so she was on her Facebook page talking about a coach. And so I was like, and talking about like she looks healthy, but organ fat and how unhealthy organ and fat around your
Yeah.
organs is.
Yeah.
And I actually have the same kidney disease that my mom caused her to have
Oh,
kidney.
mercy.
And so my liver is actually more affected than my kidneys.
Okay.
And so I was having a lot of pain during COVID with that pressure. And I look back and I'd had pain before, but lots of times I thought it was like a baby pushing on me. But here it was just that I have large cysts on my liver. And so I heard her talking about that. And I thought, I need to like do the best that I can.
Mm,
I have control of my body to take care of it. And because there's so much I don't have control, but I do have control of what I eat and
that's
my
right.
physical fitness.
Yep.
So I reached out to the coach that she was using and started using her. And I was again lost, like cleaning up. You eat, staying in your meal times and eating
Mm,
ENS, like it works. And so I was back, and I had this motivation of really just like doing what I could for my body.
yeah.
Um, and I was going to Mayo Clinic to have a small procedure done to drain some cyst on my liver.
Mm,
So, and I live in Pennsylvania. I don't know if I said that. And so my husband and we've been married 22 years. We traveled to Minnesota. We had the small procedure done, and it worked.
wow.
Yeah, it
That's
worked
far.
great. It is far, but I have a nephrologist at the University of Maryland, and she recommended that I go there because if I would ever need a liver resection, which I did have a year and a half ago, I should be a patient. That's where I should go because they do the most there.
Wow.
So that small procedure did not, it worked, it was only temporary. So that
Mm,
was a little bit deflating. Like, and
yeah.
so again, bad habits like creep up and you just like slowly, whatever it is, you start having like ice cream with your family. And I just have come to the realization that that just might not be how I can do it,
Yep.
at least for a while. Like,
Me either.
yeah, I mean, there's people that can, and I used to be, but now I'm 44 and not 35. And so,
Mhm.
and I did go on vacation a couple years ago. And I was at a healthy weight and, or at a weight that was healthy for me. And, I said, I'm going to eat on plan at every meal, but I will have ice cream with my family, but only one scoop when we go get ice cream, because that's something that we like to do.
Yep.
And so I did that and I lost during vacation. So are times, but you just have to be, smart about it.
Yep.
So, oh, let's see. So that kind of was deflating and that the procedure didn't work. And so we went back out to Mayo Clinic, um, and I had a liver resection. So I had you probably can't, I don't know if I could, but from here to here, I had an incision across the top, or I have an incision across the top of my abdomen.
Wow.
And so then obviously I couldn't move, I couldn't do a lot of movement when I got back. And so I just like slowly gained, that progress that I had made, just, gained back. So I was like, okay, I've got to do something. So the beginning of and I had reached out to you probably 2 summers ago about the girls group, like the moms
Another
health
daughter.
group.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so I really wanted to do that with my daughter, but she wasn't into it. And I was like, well, like, so maybe she's drinking kefir smoothies now and she's
Oh,
she's almost
okay.
18. So she might be into it more. But we'll, see. So, and I had reached out to you about that. And then this summer my niece was getting married and I like, when does Bud start? And I know I need to don't really need to do Buds because I know most of the stuff, but you definitely learn. For anybody who thinks they don't need it, you always can learn, right?
Yep.
Like
Yep.
you can always
It's
learn.
not just about the education of SE and FP. That's not what Buds is.
Yeah. And I did learn like one thing. I'm a dental hygienist and I listened to the teachers one recently
Hmm.
about fueling for teachers, and it's
Yeah.
very similar to my day, even maybe worse for me because I can't even have a drink of anything if there's a patient in
Right.
my room,
Right.
and I have a patient every 40 minutes, and on Tuesdays we don't have a lunch, we work straight through. So I started packing a fuel pool kefir smoothie, a big one, in a Yeti, and I would drink half of it as a mid-morning snack and half of it as a mid-afternoon snack
Hmm.
because I would have this like 6 hour gap almost
Right.
between lunch and then like almost between I got home for dinner. So that's something that I learned to do in Buds that has helped kind of curb that hunger, fuel me,
Right.
those things. But
Right. That's awesome.
So finally I had enough in July. I guess so you do odd months. So September I must have started.
Yeah,
And
you're
at
fall
the
buds.
same, yes, and at that same time started like the 100-day strong.
Mm-hmm.
And so I joined that, and I was the day that it started, I was traveling to my alma mater, and my son was a freshman in college there, to tailgate for football with my college roommate and her husband, and and I'm just like, I can do this. I know like
Yes, you can.
of like stuff that I can eat. Like it's fine. And so I did, and that was the first day one of 100 days. And so I did the 100-day challenge, and February 19th will be 150 days because that's my husband's
Wow.
birthday. It's 50 days from
Right.
the beginning of the year till his birthday. So
Right.
on the 19th of February would be 150 days. So that committing to that 100 days was probably more important, maybe even than the buds,
Right.
because that just like kept me, I don't know, going. But um anyway, that's sort of how I found you and why. And I love that you like to work out. Like and
Yeah.
talk about fueling for workouts, because that's sort of something that I was missing, I think, before.
Mhm.
I love to work out. I do spinning in my basement, and my husband and I are kind of like exercise junkies. So I have a lot of
Awesome.
we have stuff in our we have a gym in our basement, and so I like to lift heavy and spin and do all the things. So
Yeah,
yeah, anyway.
that's awesome. I love that. So what do you do as far as fueling do you work every day?
I work 3 days a week. So I'm off
3 days a
Monday and
week.
Friday, and I work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah.
Okay. So like when do you have prep days? Do you do that? Do you do prep?
So I do, and I prep on Monday, usually dinner for Monday and Tuesday. And I cook Tuesday because I get home early. I cook Monday because I'm here. I cook Friday because I'm here. My husband is off is works from home on Tuesday, Thursday. So he cooks definitely Thursdays, and will do something on Wednesdays because he's home before I am.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I prep on Mondays, usually 2 meals. Like I prepped today quinoa bowls for my breakfast so that I can just get up and not have to deal with breakfast.
Yep.
And usually I will make Waldorf salad.
Mhm.
That was in the old, but it's
Yep.
in the new books too, but it's a
It
one from
is.
the old book. And that is like usually a pretty good go-to lunch for me because it's
And
easy
that's
and
an E, right? It has the apple,
the apple in it.
ice
Yeah.
cheese. Mhm.
And so I do prep mostly Mondays, but I like to be in the kitchen, so I don't mind
Yeah.
cooking throughout the week.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. I just don't have the time, and the way that God orchestrated my business, doing the live in the kitchens and getting my prep done on Tuesdays with y'all, it's just amazing.
I didn't
Isn't that the
Yeah,
coolest thing?
I didn't think I would like the live. Well, how I found you was through the other coach that I had been using, is that she recommended your pizza skillet.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
So yeah, yeah. So, um, but she had like some issues, like, and she just isn't coaching much. So it was nothing against her. She just wasn't
Sure.
doing new things.
Many a people coach hop. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah. And well, even coach, I did a thing, my husband did this with me. He's very encouraging. When we got back from Mayo Clinic the first time, she was doing a challenge about having a veggie at every meal.
Mhm.
So he was like, we did that for a month, and he was doing that with me. So anyway, that being said, like I would find other people and their challenges and different things. So
Yeah, of course.
yeah.
Yeah. So you said you didn't know you would like the live in the kitchen. I want to
Oh
hear the
yeah.
rest of
So
that.
I watched one, and I was like, oh man, I'm like making all of those things. So I made like niece's dip. I
Uh-huh.
don't know if you did that day, but the my family calls them funeral sandwiches, but they're the wraps, the Brianna Thomas's
Oh, yeah, the
wraps.
sliders, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I made but I had never watched any through all of holiday because I'm working 3 days a week.
Right.
And I just don't have time to like sit and watch. I listen to a lot of your podcasts. Like I love the sweat drives. Like I'm like, I can get up. It's dark. Amy gets up, like she's in the dark too. Like, I can get up. And I will go through spurts where I can get up at 4:30 like clockwork, like no
Yeah.
problem, and work out and go. But I have to leave my house by 7. So
Yeah.
if I don't do it in the morning, I don't get home till 5:30. It
Yeah.
doesn't
I
get done.
feel you. Yep.
Yeah. So But my husband, I haven't always worked 3 days a week. Sometimes it's been none, sometimes only one. So this 3 days a week is new kind of to us as a family.
Mhm.
And so he has been very good about, I mean, I feel like I'm blessed about making meals and like, what do you want? What do you want to have? How can we make this recipe?
Mhm.
He likes to grill. How can we make this, on plan or whatever? So he likes to eat on plan. Like he's always like, I need you to refresh me about the E's and the S's, but he's tall and thin. He doesn't really, he just likes to be healthy. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, of course. Well, that's amazing. I prepped yesterday, which is very odd for me to do this on Sunday, but I made S muffins, E muffins, and S cookies using the cookie mix. And one of the E muffins were Coach Jessica's
oh,
soaked blueberry
those are
muffins,
my favorite.
but I used sprouted flour. I did not soak them.
Okay.
Um, and then I made there's some keto blueberry muffins. They're absolutely delicious.
Okay.
And so Wes was like, which ones can I have? And I don't know if I answered him or not. I might not have. But he ate the S ones, which have eggs, and he can't have eggs.
Oh,
I made the E ones because they don't have eggs for him. But
right.
he went anyway. So he ate one of mine, and I was like, well, I hope your tummy didn't hurt.
Oh, yeah.
But I was super proud of that. There were not many people in my house. People had farmed out, all over the place. And that's easier for me to get in the kitchen when there's not a lot of people. I don't like people in my kitchen when I'm in the kitchen. They
Yeah,
get
that was
annoying.
this morning for me. Yeah, we had a lot of people in there.
Can you please move? I need to do this.
Yeah.
I'm very protective of my kitchen. So
But
what
the
are
live
some
in
things?
I feel like the live in the kitchens can be motivating, especially if people aren't motivated to
Yeah.
cook. Like, I don't mind cooking, but it did motivate me to maybe make some things that I probably would not have made.
Right. I'm a lover of the recipes that don't have pictures. Like I am a huge it's kind of I like the underdog recipes. And
Yeah.
I'm all about let's try it. And we have some beauties. We have some
Yeah, I
beauties.
made
We
the
have
crumb cake that you
Yep,
mentioned. I think
glazed
that
crumb
you had.
cake,
Yeah.
the French toast in a bowl. There's a couple more. I can't come up with them at the moment, but those are some winners.
Yeah.
They
I
really
that
are.
that crumb cake, I was giving it to some friends and they're like, this is good. I took it to a friend's house. She was having apple pie. And I was like, if you don't mind, I'm gonna bring a dessert. Everybody's welcome to it, but I haven't had sugar or white flour since they were tailgating with us. So I was like, since the tailgate. So I'm like, and they were fun. Nobody cared. They don't
Nope,
most people mostly don't care.
they do not. They don't. Some of them are like, "Oh, good for you," and the rest of them are like, "Really?" And then the other little third is like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
You know, that's sweet. That's sweet. What were you gonna say?
I'll say my family already kind of thinks that I'm crazy. Not my kids, my family that lives here in my home, do not. They know. Well, they probably think I'm crazy too with my kefir and my
All the
I started
things.
making sourdough. But my extended family, I think, sometimes thinks I mean, in a fun way, thinks I'm crazy.
Sure.
My mom said, "You remind me of your grandma," because she was from Italy, and
Oh,
she would make like ricotta cheese, and so they have to like drain it. So
yep.
I was like draining my kefir, and she's like, "You look like your grandma in there." But
Oh.
that kind of made me smile.
Yeah, of course. That's so sweet. I love that. I love that. So, talking through your health struggles and the on plan, off plan, coming back a couple times,
Mhm.
how do you feel like this year will go? Like, do you feel strong? I know you did crushing. Do you feel
Yeah.
like that has had any help at keeping you? I really don't like the word motivated, but I'm going to use it here. To continue doing what it is that you want to do for
Well,
the
I
health.
feel like my perspective has changed a little bit. Like I would
Yep.
always think of more of like getting to this goal weight,
Yep.
like, and I would get there, and then all of a sudden it just, for some whatever reason, like I don't stay there. And
Yep.
so my perspective is, I kind of wrote this down a little bit. My
Sure.
perspective kind of changed to just like my goal is to be healthy for life. It's not like reach this number because then once you reach the number, that's what happens then. So my goal is more of a health for life. And then also thinking about sometimes when I struggle, like, why do I even struggle with my weight? I think if I didn't, I wouldn't be seeking these avenues of healthful living. Like, even if I'm carry 5 to 10 pounds around the rest of my life, it's healthier than I would be living sometimes
Right.
I have friends who are healthy weights that do not eat healthy and do
Right.
not exercise and
So
do
what's their inside doing?
yeah, right. And so I just think of Like, it's okay. Like, that's part of like my story is that I'm learning more and finding out more about health because of my health struggles or because it's like harder
Yeah.
for me to
Some big
maintain it.
stuff you've got. Yeah.
So I try to be grateful in that instead of looking at it as a negative.
Yeah, definitely. That is, I was going to say, that's a common thing with people that I see come through coaching. They want to know. We just talked about this last night in Buds. What should my goal weight be? I'm this, and this. I don't know, man. What size do you want to be? How tall are you? How much muscle do you want? Because I'm over here gaining weight on the scale because my muscle mass is going up.
Right.
Some of y'all would freak out if that happened, you know. I do have some gut inflammation that I'm dealing with right now, so that is a little bit of an issue for me, but I'm working on it. It's gonna be fine. It's all fine.
Yeah.
But I have found that in my journey, the I feel like I've gotten to a point where I'm good. Like, you know, going off plan really isn't that it's just not that enticing to me. Like, I'm totally fine going anywhere, you know, and eating on plan. Like fried food, you know, I just don't have that temptation anymore. I'm just at that spot. But I'm seeing that the healthier that I'm becoming, some things are coming to the surface. Some health
Mm.
issues are kind of coming to the surface that I need to start dealing with. And I don't know exactly what that is. I don't know if that's a common thing. It's something I'm seeing. It's something that I see in some of my one-on-one clients that I work with really closely. But long story short is I'm going to always be a trim healthy mama, whether I'm a coach or not, because it's what I believe in. And I know it works, but you have to keep doing it every day. You can't say, "Oh, well, I met my goal weight, going back to eating junk. Guess
Right.
what? You will no longer be at your goal weight." you know, but but so many think that way, you know, or they say, "Well, I'm at my goal weight, so I can do this here and this here." And like you said earlier, it spirals into not on
Right.
plan all the
Yeah.
time. And that's very, very not good.
Yeah.
you know?
No, it puts you in a bad spot to have to do it again. Like,
Yep.
and
Yep.
I do, like you said, I think I never really left THM. I was still eating THM, making the rest like buying Gentle Sweet,
Yeah.
but not really then also having those extra things because I know that it is the best way of eating. I know that I feel best when I'm
Yeah,
eating
for
that way.
sure. For
My
sure.
stomach, my gut feels better. Like all, so I started like a long time ago putting Gentle Sweet in our sugar, little sugar creamer and sugar, like on our
Yeah.
table. I
Yeah.
thought, why am I putting sugar in this for my kids? I don't want them having it. And I'm the one that would be most convenient for to have it out here for my tea or my oatmeal or whatever. So I just started putting Gentle Sweet in it. And that's what my kids use all the time, like from there.
Wow.
Like they don't use, I mean, they're not on plan, like for the
That's
most,
a huge
maybe
thing though. Yeah.
they eat on planned dinner, like what I eat for dinner. And I wish that maybe when they were younger, I would have like given them less sugar, but you know, it is what it is.
Yep.
Um, but as my son, my oldest has gotten older, he is starting to appreciate eating healthy and the ways, things that I have done. And now that he's like listening to his own podcast and, you know, I'm not, don't seem as crazy. So
Yeah.
that's good. Um,
Little
but I was
tick in the
also
wrong
gonna
box.
one thing I wanted to kind of share about women or to women who might think, oh, I have to buy this stuff or I have to, you know, like you don't have to. But when I first started, it was so hard to find when I had that big book to
Hmm.
find like nutritional yeast. It was, you
Right.
could not, there was a store called Wegman. There's a store called Wegmans. It's out
Hmm.
of New York that we have.
Hmm.
And that's where I would have to go to find like remotely these things. And women were asking them to come out with products. Like,
Right.
because they trusted their judgment. And so that's
Right.
sort of where products come from is more of a
Convenience.
a demand like we would just rather buy from you and not have to go to the store and look and know that you're bringing, you know,
Right. Know
quality.
that it's real, legit. Yeah, for
Yeah, and
sure.
so I think that people might get hooked up and say, oh, you got to buy that, but that's really not, I don't feel like the heart of the plan or the heart
Oh,
of them
absolutely not. Absolutely
to
not. And may
sell those.
gracious, they release like the a free stuff all the time. They really
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
It's really great. I do. I get sad when people badmouth them on the things, but whatever, it's
yeah.
fine. We know their heart, and I think if people give Serena Pearl a good little listen, they'll hear it too. They'll hear it too. Very good. So what would you say I'm looking at your account here in Mighty Networks.
Sure. Yeah.
You've done a lot of things. You've done a lot of things. Would you say that you've completed all of them? I'm just curious.
Like, I did not do the daughter, that like stuff. So I don't like to say I teach a Bible study because I don't feel like I'm called to be a teacher, but I facilitate a Bible study in our home. So
Mhm.
sort of as I was doing that, I think that is that the Proverbs one?
Yep,
So I kind of started that, but it was like too many things for me to do
for
at once.
sure. I understand
And
that.
so right now we're doing Habakkuk. I don't know if
Mhm.
we all kind of say it differently
Yeah.
in our study, but so I have done the 100-day challenge. I did holidays. I didn't like listen to all the live. Like, it's hard for me to be at the lives because I'm at work sometimes, but I try to go back and listen. Um, I did crush, and but I think I talked about how I did tell about my dad passed away
Yes,
right
during
at the
that.
beginning of middle of crushing, and my son went to basic training and he couldn't come home. And I really could have used that as a time to like be at like a pity party, but I really thought to myself, none of this food is going to make me feel better. It's going to make me feel worse. It's going to make me loathe myself when I wake up. Like, I want to be like at feeling my best, grieving with people, talking about my dad. Like, I don't want to feel physically like crap. Like,
Yep.
um, and so so working through this thing, I mean, I'm not saying like I have arrived, but it makes me feel good about myself that I have kind of been through some like things that could have made me just like be like, I'm gonna have that. My dad passed away. I'm gonna eat this from my favorite bakery at home because
Right.
I'm and but I did not. So I was really happy about that.
Can I read what you wrote to us?
Sure, sure.
So this was on January 16th. He passed away right before that, I think.
Yeah, 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 the
Right?
11th. Mm.
And
I'm
Stacia
sorry, the
posted
9th.
this. Yeah. You posted this, blew me away. Really did. The way that you reached out and you were just like, this is what I'm doing, you know? So
Yeah.
she says, I got a phone call last Tuesday night. One you know will someday come, but you never want. My father passed away. We live 4 hours away. So after I packed my 4 kids, one is to at basic training, I packed him in hopes that he may come and looked through pictures. I had little time to pack food. I asked my sister in law to pick up yogurt for me to have at my mom's. I grabbed Gentle Sweet, tea bags, and veggies I'd already cut. The rest I was going to wing. I had two major stressors. My son had just left for boot camp and my father passing, but I was determined to keep going after 100 strong. I didn't eat any cookies, desserts, bagels, bread, cinnamon rolls, pasta. I'm Italian, so there was a lot of pasta. I
Yeah.
didn't want to feel terrible and loathe myself, my choice, and grieve all at the same time. Not one of those foods would have brought me comfort. That's what got me right there.
Yeah.
I'm back home now, still processing it all. My food choices weren't perfect. Lots of lunch meat, XO, heavy S. I had meatballs at the dinner after the service. I'm sure they had breadcrumbs, but it was the only protein choice. I would have eaten it too.
Yeah.
I likely didn't have enough protein at meals, but tried to have an E every morning. I'm so glad I didn't use food to comfort, but leaned into the love of my family. And you shared a picture of your daddy and your son, and you used the hashtag you can do hard things.
Yeah. I
I've
mean,
been a little
sorry.
weepy today, so I'm really, really proud that I didn't cry right there. But
Yeah.
I I am very proud of you. Like I was like, whoa, whoa. I think I read it out loud to Wes that evening. It's just incredible. Incredible.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm great. Like, we have a faith to know, that he is in heaven and in
Yeah.
eternity, we will see him again. And so that brings comfort, but it still, stings for people left behind.
Sure.
And
Absolutely.
but I just thought, like, why, it's not going to make me feel any better and
Yeah.
to eat these
Well,
things.
look,
And
people have gone off plan for things not near as intense as this.
yeah,
So I mean, this isn't a nanny nanny boo boo to people that have just had a simple bad day and chose to eat something off plan. That's not what I'm doing here. I want people to see you went through something super intense, very last minute, weren't looking for any of this to happen. And you immediately chose yourself and your health. Like
yeah.
that is incredible.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's absolutely incredible.
And that's another thing that I enjoy about you is like not making excuses, like tough love. And that we need that. I feel like we need that. And you had said it
Yeah.
in a pot. I think it might have been in Crushing, I don't know, but
There's
about
no
like we
telling
let
where I said it.
well, like about letting excuses become uh, um shoot becoming maybe just letting things that happen become excuses or something like that. But
Yeah.
basically, you eventually you got to be like, lots of things are going to come up. I can't keep using these as excuses.
Hmm.
So, and I mean, I feel like maybe sometimes there's times where you're doing really good at choosing, or at least for me, I do really good choosing those things, and then somehow it gets like you slide back into those old
Sure.
habits. But I feel like the accountability, that's what I think that coaching brings is accountability of just having that encouragement and, kind of constantly listening and learning and trying new things
Yeah.
to grow
Yeah. And like with group coaching, I mean, there is a level of accountability. And it's to me, it's to the group. But what I want to teach group clients is that it's to yourself.
That's,
I
yeah,
truly could do whatever in the world I wanted and no one would know. Now,
right,
over time, it would show. It
right,
would show. But I'm not doing this for y'all. I'm on plan for me. And that's what I want. All anybody listening, that's what I want. And it
right.
doesn't
Yeah,
have to just be food. It can be anything. And that's what we teach our children is that discipline. I want my children to behave away from me better than they would in front of me. So
right.
I
Yeah,
want y'all to behave better away from me than when you're in coaching, because that's what's going to keep you going. Ooh, that's good.
yeah. It is good. 100%. I think I shared with you about Jocko Willink. I did in the review. I don't know if you read through the whole thing of all the reviews yet, but of Crushing, talked about Jocko Willink, I think is his last name, and he was a Navy SEAL, and he writes a lot of books, and he has one called Discipline Equals Freedom. And people think discipline sounds so terrible, but it
Mhm.
really gives you freedom. And I even like laugh
Yes.
about like discipline gives me the freedom to go to the closet and wear any outfit that I have in there because I have the freedom of that, and jokingly, but there's so many areas of our life where discipline equals freedom, and it's a
Amen.
really great book. It's sort of it's like quotes and different things. It's a very easy read. It's not like chapters and stuff. But I had bought Atomic Habits for my son probably when he was in seventh or eighth when it first came out, and uh, it is a great book. And so I was when you said you were going to do a crushing group, I was very
Yeah.
excited to do that because
Yeah.
I had already heard about the book and had read most of it. So
Yeah. Well, I'm so thankful that my coaching has helped you so much. It blesses my heart, and you were always so vocal to share that, and that means the world to me. It truly does. There's a lot of times when I'm doing things and I'm like, is anybody listening? you know. So I appreciate it.
well, I think it's sort of like you always like people will tell you if your kids do something bad, but they don't
Yeah.
always come and do good things. And I feel like that a little bit that people need to not just people are quick to complain.
Yep.
And so I think that it's good to hear like, hey, I enjoy the sweat drive. It makes me feel motivated to, that I'm not the only one up in the dark, or,
Yeah.
hey, you know, I can see that someone might complain about this coaching, but hey, if they're not putting forth their side of the effort, it doesn't matter what you
Mm-mm.
put into it. And so, and that I can speak for myself in that with the girls one. And I want to go back and do that with the daughter because I have also a 10-year-old daughter. So,
Oh,
uh,
she would probably love it.
yes, yeah, she probably would. She would be grateful about it. Right. So anyway, but yeah, I think that it's important to, give shout outs and even like I don't know her C High. I don't know how her for her first name.
Kathy.
But
Mm-hmm.
I reached out to her because I listened to the podcast
Yeah.
and she was talking about her husband being a chaplain. And it
Yes.
just made me like feel so good. This has nothing to do with Trim Healthy Mama, but when people share their story, it can
Yeah.
bless somebody else in a way that she doesn't probably even intend it to because
Right.
God is in it. And that's another thing I love that you share your faith and are not shy
Yeah.
about sharing it. But she talked about him being a chaplain. It just made me feel so good that my son was just hearing from people that we did not tell him we had to contact the Red Cross, and he was told by command that my dad had passed away, but that there
Wow.
are people in line that can love on him and a church to
Mm,
go to during the, and
mm.
so like, even though that has nothing to do with Trim Healthy Mama, that was like I reached out to her and just said, hey, just to let you know, thanks for sharing.
Yeah. The community is absolutely incredible. It just really is. I mean, even you feeling comfortable sharing, you've probably never met any of these people in person, but you
No.
felt comfortable sharing in this Facebook group about your daddy and your son and what you did. And it's just so good. I just love it. Makes my heart like, I love it so
I
much.
think it encourages other people, right? Because when something that happens to somebody else and,
They're going to
who
say,
are
oh, yeah,
we,
that girl, she
I
stayed on
can do
plan.
that
I can do it too. Yeah.
too. Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's
Awesome.
why I think even like sharing in the podcast, like I don't really have any spectacular story or any, like my weight has been like this and I
Right.
don't have a to lose. And I do like to exercise and I have a husband that helps me. And, I like to cook. And so, but just that coming back to Trim Healthy Mama, not giving up and not giving up
Yep.
on your health and, knowing if I want God to bless my body, I need to do my part
Mm,
on my end to, the part that I can control.
that's right. I agree. All right. We're going to close out. Anything else you want to say?
I don't think, let's see. No, well, I guess when you were talking about weight and what should be your ideal weight and things, and you just to encourage women to not worry about that number so much because I talked about the polycystic kidney disease and polycystic liver disease, and so my liver is like 2 times the size of everyone else's liver. My
Wow.
kidneys are, you know, have cysts like grapes all over them. So I really can't think of a weight. I can't look at that scale and to value really
Right.
because
Or
I
even
have,
size of clothes too.
yeah, because my diaphragm here is very wide, like, and so I can't get caught up on. And so I just want to encourage other women that there's can be other things going on to not get caught up in that number, but more how you feel genuinely, and the energy that you have, and even like the moodiness and all of those
Mhm.
things. I think are
Amen. Well
here.
said, man.
So, yeah.
Well said.
Hey, thank you. It was very nice talking to you. I hope to get to one of your conferences.
I
Um,
would love to meet you in person.
My sister
Okay.
lives in Covington, near New Orleans, so maybe we'll get down there.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, Carol lives in Pennsylvania and she's coming to the conference if you want to hitch a ride with her.
Oh, I'll have to reach out to Carol and see where she lives. Yeah.
She's in Puxatawney, Pennsylvania.
Oh, I
The
think that's right. Yeah.
groundhogs live.
Yes. We're near Gettysburg, so if she
Oh,
hears this, I'll have to reach
yeah.
out. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. She's precious. She'd probably let you ride.
All
And
right.
she's not flying. I can tell you
Yes.
that. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Stacia. I appreciate you spending some time with me this afternoon and sharing on the
Yeah.
podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You
Have
want
a
to tell them bye?
goodbye.
Bye, y'all.